Adeleke's Osun victory, Wike takes a stand. The outcome of the Osun State governorship election has triggered another political debate, but this time, the focus is not only on Governor Ademola Adeleke's victory. It is on the interpretation coming from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Wike has given President Bola Ahmed Tinubu credit for allowing Adeleke to defeat the APC candidate, Bola Ahmed, describing the election as evidence that the federal government allowed the democratic process to work. Adeleke won the August 15 election with 511,067 votes, defeating Oyebamije, who scored 444,815 votes. Adeleke also won 19 of Osun's 30 local government areas. But Wike's interpretation is politically significant. His argument is simple. If Tinubu's administration had wanted to use federal power to guarantee an APC victory, Adeleke would not have won. According to Wike, the president even called Adeleke to congratulate him. For the FCT minister, this is evidence that the federal government did not manipulate the election against the opposition. But this is where Wike's statement becomes more than a reaction to an election result. He is defending the credibility of the Tinubu administration at a time when political opponents frequently accuse governments in power of using state institutions and federal influence during elections. Wike is presenting Osun as a counter-example. His message is essentially that an APC-led federal government has demonstrated that an opposition candidate can win an election. This is a strong political boost for Tinubu. It allows the president's supporters to argue that the Osun result should not be interpreted as evidence of federal interference or manipulation. Instead, Wike wants the result seen as evidence of democratic openness. The minister also rejected claims about federal might, drawing from his own experience in Rivers State. He argued that those who genuinely experience federal might know what it looks like, insisting that such claims should not simply be made without evidence. But Wike did something else that is equally important. He warned against using Adeleke's victory as a direct prediction of what will happen in 2027 presidential election. This distinction matters. Osun is a governorship election. The 2027 presidential election will involve a completely different political calculation, different candidates, different alliances, different regional interests, and a much wider electorate. So in Wike's interpretation, Adeleke's victory is not a defeat for Tinubu. It is an election result that demonstrates that the process was allowed to operate. That is the political message he wants Nigerians to take away. And Wike is using that message to make a much broader argument about 2027. He believes President Tinubu is currently in a stronger position than he was in 2023. He says the opposition has become weaker, divided and depleted, while political parties and politicians are still struggling to establish a formidable national platform. This is why Wike's Osun statement can be seen as both a defense of Tinubu and a challenge to the opposition. His position is that the opposition should not explain every electoral defeat through the influence of the federal government. Instead, political parties must build structures, mobilize voters, and prepare long before election day. The Osun election itself provides an interesting example. The ADC has acknowledged that it worked with accord during the election because of concerns that opposition votes could be divided and allow the APC to win. That development gives some weight to Wike's broader argument about opposition organization. The election was not simply about federal power. It was also about local political alliances, candidates, voter mobilization, and ability of political parties to prevent their votes from being divided. This is perhaps the strongest lesson from Wike's position. He is telling the opposition that winning against the APC requires more than accusing the federal government of using federal might. It requires political organization, it requires unity, and it requires the ability to convert voter support into electoral victory. For Tinubu, Wike's statement provide a political advantage. An opposition victory has been reframed as evidence of democratic tolerance rather than a setback for the ruling party. For Adeleke, the statement is also significant. His victory has effectively been acknowledged by one of the most prominent figures within the federal government as the outcome of an election that was allowed to run freely. For the opposition, there is another message. The Osun result should not simply be celebrated, it should be studied. How did Adeleke secure such a strong margin? How did the opposition prevent vote fragmentation? What local alliances worked? And can similar strategies operate at the national level? Those are the lessons that could become important as the country moves closer to 2027. Ultimately, Wike's position is clear. Adeleke won Osun because, in his view, Tinubu allowed the election to be free and fair. He does not see the result as evidence that APC federal government has been defeated. He sees it as evidence that democratic process was respected. And by separating Osun governorship election from the 2027 presidential contest, Wike is making sure that Adeleke's victory does not become a larger political narrative of an APC decline. This is the real significance of his statement. The Osun election has produced a winner, but Wike's reaction has produced another political storyline, one that places the spotlight directly on Tinubu's democratic credentials, the strength of the opposition, and the political battle ahead of 2027. This is Nigeria Wave. For balanced political news and analysis, subscribe, like this video and share it. Thank you.